All right, let's look at indexing basics part 4. Now, later editions of SQL Server have clustered column store indexes and non-clustered column store indexes. In this example, we're going to look at the clustered column store indexes and just some limitations to keep in mind about these. You will run into situations where a clustered column store index makes more sense than using a combination of clustered indexes and non-clustered indexes. However, there are restrictions, so pause the video according to Microsoft because these are the restrictions here. Data types excluded, as you can see, and then they cannot be used with other tools such as page and row compression. You'll see why, replication, and file stream. So let's go ahead and take a peek at a table with a clustered column store index here in my database, crash it testing. And you can see this is a clustered, and it says clustered column store index. They have a different approach if you use the GUI at all. So if I were to try to create a clustered index on this table, on the ID field, watch what will happen. It's going to throw an error, and it's going to say, cannot create more than one clustered index on a table. Drop the existing clustered index, and you can see it's that clustered column store index, okay? So what it's saying is look, you can't create another one. You already have this. This is a covering index, and it's important to understand that what column store indexes is they're covering. They cover the whole thing, okay? So if we look at, and we can see the effects of this is one of the reasons why you don't have compression. If we look at the storage, you'll see that we have, it's stored in 2.71 meg, right? If we look at the table with the same exact structure, these are duplicate tables, but you can already see, even with an index added to the other one, this one currently doesn't have any indexes, but even with an index added to the other one, it's actually using, this one's using more space, even though this one has a clustered column store index on it. And by the way, the effects of that are more significant as you get into bigger tables. And in this test table, it's generic in the sense that there's several fields that are very easy to index. So whereas I can create a clustered index on the other table, because there is no clustered column store index, I cannot do that on this one. So one of the things to really pay attention to is that, and I say that because this is a huge opportunity, if you're using those later editions of SQL Server, those later editions of SQL Server do have these clustered column store indexes, and if you test them and find that the combination of queries that you're going to be running against those tables are much more efficient with those, and in many cases they will be. There are a few cases that they weren't, but most cases they will be much more efficient. Not only do you get the benefit of better memory use, better CPU use, a slight amount of CPU overhead, but you do get better memory and better disk use. And when you think about those two combinations in general, that's going to have more of an impact. And yeah, your bottleneck might be slightly the CPU, but of course it depends on the environment.